Greetings, comrades, and welcome to the Rad Gaming Podcast. I'm Pescador, and in this episode of the podcast, I talk to Zoe. Zoe is a Twitch partner and currently works for an indie game studio. We talk in depth about why games in the series do not do as well as the original game, the recent trend of celebrity appearances in video games, and the newest game launcher to make an appearance in the gaming world. This episode of the podcast is sponsored by, that's right, Cento Fury. Cento Fury, they are the lifestyle, they are the fashion brand, and you can find all their merchandise over at centofury.com. That is CENTO-FIORI.com. Their shirts are insanely soft. They're just a great buy all around, so do yourself a favor and get yourself one. Also, the Rad Gaming Podcast is part of Big Heads Media. With that said, on to the podcast.
Apple Arcade has a bunch of all these like indie games. And one of them is called Sneaky Sasquatch, and I was playing it at work today.
So what's the premise of Sneaky Sasquatch? Do you like sneak and you're a Sasquatch?
Yeah, so you're a Sasquatch, and you're on a campground, and the counselors, or not the counselors, but the park rangers are like, you can't come on the campgrounds because you'll scare people. So the raccoon teaches, yes, there's a raccoon. Love this game. There's a raccoon that teaches you to sneak around the campsites so that you can steal food and not be seen by people or the park rangers. So you have to sneak around, and you can tiptoe, you can hide in bushes, and you basically have to steal food from people. And you can either eat the food or you can sell the food to a bear for money. And the money you can use at the raccoon's shop to buy goods that will help you sneak better.
Who thinks of these things? Because that's actually really intelligent. Like selling your food to a bear to get money to go to the raccoon shop and buy more gadgets. That's a great premise.
It was great.
Was it difficult?
No. It was very easy. And not like too easy where it's boring, but it was like easy to pick up. Like easy to get the controls.
Did you breeze through a lot of the levels and stuff then?
No, because I was doing it in between meetings that we had. So like I would get to play like one level and then have a meeting, and I get to play another level, and then I had to have a meeting. So.
But you wouldn't get Apple Arcade.
No. As much as I love Sneaky Sasquatch, I wouldn't. Just not at this time. I don't know. I don't play enough mobile games or like have the like desire to play mobile games enough to pay for a streaming service. But that's the thing. Like Apple Arcade is now the beginning, or I guess not the beginning because they're not the first person to do it, but they are the first to test out this whole Netflix like gaming experience where you pay for the service of getting all these games rather than each individual game.
Yeah. But you said they messed up. Apple messed up.
Well, they messed up. They kind of messed up. I guess they opened their beta 3 days prior to either when they said they were or prior to when they're launching, which means that any dev who has their game on the Apple Arcade kind of missed the opportunity to like market their game today. Like, granted, they still have time to market it later this week, but it's kind of like a blindside to the devs.
So how did you get access to Apple Arcade, though? How did you get access to see Sneaky Sasquatch?
I guess my boss had access to the beta. I don't know how he had access to the beta. I just know that he asked me what I was doing, then said, do you want to play some video games? And then handed me his phone and said, find me some games to play.
I mean, that's an
or
awesome
find
boss.
some games to play. I mean, that's what happens when you work at a game studio. Like, I think
Lucky.
yesterday was a playtest day, so I spent 2 hours. Well, because so we're an indie studio, so everyone is involved in playtesting because we don't have a million QA.
Yeah.
So yesterday was a playtest day. So if you don't have a lot on your to-do list, you can opt in to playtest. So I spent 2 hours playing our video game at work.
That's awesome. And I'm guessing
Well,
you
fun.
like report bugs or
Mhm.
recommend things to, I guess, better push the game, or is it marketing wise, or it's just for development purposes? Is that what it's for?
It's for development, so I'll log bugs, and report feedback and stuff like that. So
That's an awesome job.
yeah,
I wish
I
I could
mean,
play
I
two
don't get
hours of
to do that.
games.
I don't get to do that all day, every day.
Oh yeah.
But it's just on playtest days, because we have like a few QA, but we don't have a lot of QA.
I wish that I was it. I think it was Amazon that implemented the warehouse. I remember in one of the podcasts we talked about Apple. Geez, man, Amazon pushing video games in their warehouse so that
Mm-hmm.
it kind of helps alleviate some of the stress that they had for their jobs, and because they have their warehouse is buzzing all the time. I buy a lot of stuff from Amazon. It's probably because of me, but their
Oh no,
people
I
are
just bought a crap ton of stuff from Amazon today.
exactly. See, but they're like their warehouse is constantly moving, constantly shipping things out, and from what I understand, they're very hard on their employees. So I think that they heard that criticism and they try to fix it by putting or implementing games, and they like if their employees are ahead of the game, which I'm sure they're not that often, but if they don't have that much workload, they are actually able to play games in
Mhm.
their warehouse, which is kind of cool. And I wish they would implement something like that at more jobs. It kind of helps alleviate stress, at least in my opinion. At least if they have the right
More
games, that
pla-
is.
more places should just be like Google, where
Yeah.
they have like food everywhere and ping pong tables.
See, I wouldn't say food because food's a very tough thing to kind of budget for, because it just depends on how much food people eat or
Yeah.
drinks they like drink throughout the day. But video games are very easy and very tangible. You can get them for like a couple couple game consoles, and then a couple games each month or something. Like allocate that
Hmm.
specific amount for it, and it's fun. Gets team bonding and team building exercises, things like that. But I don't know, people. Maybe one day, because our generation is kind of getting up there. So,
Yeah.
but that actually
Yeah, it'd be fun.
it kind of brings me into my next point, and I don't know if you wanted to lay on anything else in Apple Arcade, though. I don't want to cut you short.
Yeah.
All right, awesome. Well, The Offspring. Did you ever hear of the band The Offspring?
No.
So they were a punk rock band back in the 1990s. They had if I remember correctly, the kids aren't all right. They had a lot of amazing songs back in the day. I Want You Bad. I can't even remember all the songs, but they were
Oh, you
awesome.
know what? I've probably heard. I have this weird thing where I don't know artist names,
Yeah, don't worry
or
about it.
titles of songs, but if you play the song, I might know it. So
Yeah, I have
that's
to.
probably the case.
I'll probably have to listen to them, but it's strange to see this new thing. So what's going on is the Offspring were actually asked to play a live show on a game called World of Tanks. Have you ever heard of World of Tanks? It's a free play game.
Yes.
Awesome. So it's a mobile game, and you blow up other tanks. Basically, is the whole premise of that game. But they're bringing the Offspring on to play a live concert on that game, and it's crazy to see this trend of bands being brought into video games and actually performing a live concert. That's awesome. I've never would have thought
Yeah.
of something like that when I was a kid.
Yeah, because I mean, like you've heard of like famous or even semi-famous bands doing soundtracks. And then with the whole mocap, now celebrities are starting to be in
Hmm.
video games. But no one's ever done like a live concert with a band. It's usually just like pre-recorded soundtracks and you're like the soundtrack to the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's really cool that they're like doing like a whole concert.
I know that
It's very different.
what was it? Marshmello played a live concert in Fortnite, and it was huge for Fortnite because at that point in time they're kind of going down the slope for I guess having people play their game. So they tried something different, and they had Marshmello perform, and it brought a ton of people back into Fortnite, and a lot of people started playing again because of this. Because it's a neat thing. Everyone got on the servers at a certain time, listened to perform, and then basically everyone probably just stuck around and started playing more Fortnite. And it was a fantastic way to get more people to play that specific game.
Is that why there's a Marshmello skin thing in Fortnite?
Yes, and that it's crazy to think that people like celebrities are making appearances in games and bands, like you said. It's really weird, and it's a great marketing scheme though.
It really is, and it's also strange to see like one celebrity and like everyone else is like normal people.
Right?
I always think that's super weird, is that like you'll have a bunch of actors that are not notoriously known, and then you'll have that one celebrity person in the group of actors, and you're just like, wait a minute, I know who that is. But also like, why are they there?
Yeah,
so it's definitely a weird marketing ploy, but it works,
It really does. I know that at one point in time, I don't know if you ever played Overwatch.
I played during a free weekend.
Yeah, well, Overwatch had when they're doing Doomfist, Terry Crews kind of weighed in. You know who Terry Crews is, right? The actor Terry Crews. Okay, he kind of weighed in and said that he wanted to play Doomfist. He wanted to be the voice of Doomfist. So a lot of people got behind this, and a lot of people were excited to possibly bring Terry Crews into this. But then I know that he didn't get the voice acting role for that, and people were really devastated. So they actually got a role in Crackdown 3. I don't know if that was correlation or whatnot, but they got Terry Crews to play the voice of one of the lead characters in Crackdown 3, and I'm so sad that the game didn't do that well. But like it's crazy to see like they had all these voice actors, and then they had Terry Crews. It's just weird to think that they try to pull people in with just people.
Yeah,
but it works
well,
sometimes.
Until Dawn did that, because they had but they had more than just one. I think they had two. Well, they had the one which was Hayden Panettiere, so she's like instantly well known by her face, and then they had, I guess second tier type celebrity, which was the guy who I don't know the actor's name because I'm horrible. But it was the guy that was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., who played Sky. Was it Warren?
Is it bad that I've never seen
Ward?
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Was it Ward? You haven't seen Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
I have not. No.
Oh, you need to do your.
I know, right? It's bad though. There's so many things out there with superheroes in general. I just can't keep up anymore. I do want to see The Watchmen though. It's coming to HBO, and I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I'm excited too. Also, I was right. It is Ward. It's Grant Ward. So that dude is in Until Dawn as well. And then I think a couple of the other actors are like people that have been in things, but they're not like super recognizable by their face. But Ward, the dude who plays Ward, and then Hayden Panettiere, like obviously instantly recognizable.
Yeah, it's kind of like I know I showed you the trailer for C. With Jason Momoa for what's the Apple original series, like for their Apple TV.
Really funny. So many questions.
Yeah, so for people that don't know, Jason Momoa plays the lead, or he's the lead actor in Apple original. It's really weird to say. I want to say Netflix original. I don't know why, because I'm so used to saying that, I guess. But Apple original. And basically what it is everyone in the world has lost their sight. And Jason Momoa is this like warrior character, as you would expect Jason Momoa to play, and he can't see, everyone can't see, but he has children that apparently can see, and he knows they can't see, or they can see, excuse me. The children can see, everybody else can't, and another tribe that can't see is trying to kill these children because they can see, and they're afraid of what will happen in the future.
But it's like, it doesn't really make sense, because like, how do they know they can see? And then also, they want to kill the kids because they think that people who have eyesight are the reason why the world went down. Like,
Yeah.
got destroyed, went to hell. I don't know. Whatever happened.
Yeah.
So it's like a post-apocalyptic, almost like The 100, but if everyone was blind.
Yeah.
Like, that's the vibe I'm getting, is that it's literally The 100, but if everyone was blind. And now they want to like kill 2 seeing kids, but like they're babies. Like, I don't understand how people know they can see.
Yeah, I don't know. They said that they just feel like it's different with these kids, so I have no idea. And like, I know there's a giant battle scene at the end, and I honestly just wonder how they don't stab their own own tribe. Yeah, I don't get it. But like, the whole point of me bringing this in was the fact that they get these big name people, Jason Momoa. Like, everyone knows Jason Momoa from the role he played in as Aquaman, obviously in
Justice League.
Yes, and
Game
in
of
DC Universe.
Thrones.
Yep, I was gonna say was it Khal Drogo in Game of Thrones? Yeah, like, he's well known for that. But then like they throw him in this really weirdly written script of the post-apocalyptic times people can't see. I don't know. I understand the idea behind it, but it's something I don't know if I can get into. Maybe I just gotta like watch it and see. Because there's like,
I feel like I'm gonna be the type of person who just reads the plot synopsis online to figure out.
You read plot synopsis?
Oh my god, I do. I'm the worst. I like reading spoilers.
Oh.
Yep.
You don't spoil things for people, do you?
Oh god, no.
Okay, good.
Well, I have a rule. Like, if it's
been a while.
If it's been a while, I will, like, so if it's a TV show, I'll give you like 24 to 48 hours. Because if you really care about that TV
Just
show.
48?
Yeah, because it's a TV show. So it's like instantly available.
If my
like,
power's out for 72 hours, then what happens?
Well, if your power's out, I'll give you a pass. But with TV, like, because it's instantly streamable, downloadable nowadays, like, it's not just you watch it on cable and it's done. You know what I mean? It's if it's an episode like for Game of Thrones, I would be like 48 hours and I'm talking about Game of Thrones. Like, if you really cared about Game of Thrones, you would watch it.
Yep.
And with movies, I'm like, I'll give you like a week, a solid 7 days. Because if you really cared about that movie, like really honestly cared about that movie,
right,
you'd watch it as soon as it came out. After that, I'm kind of like, should have seen it. Because like I feel that way about myself too. Like, I'm not just that person who's like, I'm going to spoil this because you haven't seen it. Like, I feel that way if a movie comes out and I don't see it in a week, like, I don't care if I see a spoiler because it's on me that I didn't make the time to go see it.
Well, but people were really upset about the whole Spider-Man Far From Home trailer that showed and
Totally
spoiler alert, coming up here, that Iron Man died in the Avengers Endgame, and people were like, "What the hell?" And like, this is ridiculous, you know. But it was like a week or two after, right?
It was. I think it was like more than a week, which also, like, for like, if you really cared about a Marvel movie, you're telling me that you couldn't see it in 7 days, like, that kind of that's unbelievable, because everyone who, at least I know, that's like hardcore Marvel fan, sees it opening night.
Yeah, which I hate opening night, but I went and saw it on opening night because I was like, you know what? I do not want anyone to ruin this movie for me. So, but it sucks because where I work with other developers, and there was one point in time I was like, obviously, I don't know if you were into Game of Thrones, and I know you're talking about Game of Thrones a little bit earlier. I'm hoping that you're caught up with all the episodes of Game of Thrones.
Oh yeah, I mean,
okay,
that aired back in May.
Oh, I know. I'm just making sure, you know. So I was talking about, like, this was like a week. Actually, no, it was like 2 or 3 days after the episode when Daenerys Targaryen like destroyed the entire city. She just wiped it out. Yes. And like, I was starting to talk to my one work friend about it, and my other work friend's like, "Hey, stop talking about it. I haven't seen it yet." I'm like, "Listen, dude, it's been it's been like a week. You need to see it. And he's like, I'm watching it with my wife, and my wife's still backing up in season 5. I'm like, well, watch faster because it's been a week, man. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
Watch faster. I know. I mean, my best friend like caught up on Game of Thrones like late into the game, so I did respect her and not spoil anything, because I knew that she was trying to catch up, but I have to really like you in order to not spoil things.
Right. That's the thing, though. I guess my dad was the one that actually brought me to Game of Thrones, believe it or not. My dad's
really?
like 60, 62, 63, somewhere in there. And he was just like, Ken, you need to sit down and watch this. I'm like, what? I don't. So I saw, like, what was the episode? It was Tyrion Lannister was defending the King's Landing, and he was like fighting on the ground. That's when he got his scar. That episode.
Yeah.
And like I was watching, I was like, this is so ridiculously fake and boring. I don't want to watch it anymore. And I just like hung it up. And yeah, I know you can roll your eyes, but I had that like initial reaction. And he's like, seriously, just watch it from the beginning. And if you don't want to watch it after like a half an hour into it, don't watch it. I'm like, all right, deal. And I sat there and watched. And I was like, this is well written. This is pretty good.
Yeah.
And then I started like I'm like, oh man, okay, well I don't really know who these characters are. I need to go back and watch the rest of them. So I watched literally the entire way until I caught up with my dad. And now my dad's like, did you see that episode? I'm like, yes, I saw that episode. It was amazing. Like we have like this really dynamic conversation around Game of Thrones, which my dad's 63 years old. I'm going to say 63. But like he loves Game of Thrones. It's so funny to see that.
Yeah, I mean, like back in May for the finale of Game of Thrones, I flew home to watch it with my family. Like
that's dedication.
Like, I went home for the weekend. Well, because like it was kind of it wasn't so much that we're super fans. It was more so it was like an excuse to go home. I'm like, it's the series finale. I have to go watch it with my family. We had like a Game of Thrones dinner, and we ate dinner and we watched the series finale, but like it was an excuse to go home, but I did. I went home for the series finale. But no, I mean, like, in terms of spoilers, not Endgame, Infinity War. At the end, when, spoilers, it's been like 2 years, Spider-Man dies, and he, like, dies in Tony's arms, and he, like, floats away.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen Infinity War when it came out. I didn't go because I have this weird thing where I don't like going to the movies by myself. So when it came out, I didn't have anyone to go with. So I just didn't go. And then it had been, I think like 2 weeks or something. And I was on Twitter and someone used the gif of him being like, you know, like, I don't feel so good, Tony. And then he like floats away. Like, and I was like, what? He dies? I was like, whoa, now I kind of want to see it. And like, I don't get mad at spoilers because, I mean, I'll get mad if I'm in the middle of the episode and someone texts me the end and it came out like 30 minutes ago. Like, I'll get mad at that. But like, it was my own fault that I didn't see that movie in 2 weeks. So I kind of deserved to see the end. You know what I mean? Like,
but at this day and age of just the amount of information we watch and go through, and just media in general we consume is unreal. I mean, we want things now, so I mean, I don't feel bad anymore when people are like, man, I haven't seen that. Like, don't ruin. I mean, if it's like a brand new series that you've never even heard of, and then you spoil it for someone, that's a little messed up.
It. Even if it's been out for years, like if they've never heard of it, that's totally different. If they were, my whole thing is that like if you've never heard of it, I'm not going to spoil it. But if you said that you were super excited about it and then you didn't watch it when it came out, I kind of think that you're not really that excited about it and that you probably don't care that much. Yeah. But what you were saying, the whole consumable, everything is very consumable right now and instantly consumable, including how people play and beat an entire game in one day, which I think is ridiculous.
Yes, you were talking about Borderlands 3, actually, and you were saying that you read online that someone beat it in 8 hours and they were complaining about it?
Oh no, I mean, I read that someone had beat it already and it like just came out. But I have seen for other games when people beat it in a very short amount of time and then talk about how the game wasn't worth the price because it was so short.
But
And
it's just such a weird thing to say because
it
I'll
is.
be 100% honest. When Skyrim came out, I, for over a year, and I'm serious when I say this, I didn't even beat the main mission. And
Yeah.
and that's because I went around and did all the side quests. Just because I
Yeah.
enjoy doing that. I love it prolonging like the actual quest.
Well, I think
So
for games that have like 20 plus hours of gameplay, people tend not to complain as much. But when you have a game that's like, 6 to 8 hours or 4 to 5 or even two, um, I've noticed that people think that it's not worth the price because it's short. And I've never understood that mentality because I just think that if a game is well made and enjoyable and just really damn good, like it's worth whatever price it is. Like it just doesn't make any sense when people start to quantify um, dollar per hour and claim, especially when nowadays people don't take their time when they play video games. I mean,
no,
some people
absolutely not.
do. Avid gamers will definitely respect a game and take their time, but like most people just blaze through games, complete it in a day, complete it in 48 hours, speed run it, like,
Yeah, and then they
and
get
it
on
just
playing multiplayer, and that's what they do with the game for the rest of the time.
yeah, and they just don't cherish or really, stop and enjoy the game for what it is. Um Not all, but there are some that just like blaze through it and they're like, "Well, that was a fun afternoon. I'm done." Like I'm done the whole it takes me forever to beat games. Like forever. Like how are you already done?
Yeah,
Um
I think it's because you truly enjoy the gameplay. I mean, there's a lot of people that they want to pick apart a game, like they feel like that's their job to do so. And when
yeah.
people like I bought my friend Pedro on a PC, and I knew it was gonna be a short game, and it was like $20, I think, or $15 or something like that, and it took me like 5 hours to beat or something like that, not even. And like I wasn't even mad with that. I was like, that was a fun game. I'll play it again.
Yeah.
Like it just
Yeah, I mean, like, I can understand if you spent like $60 on a game that was utter garbage
yeah.
and you were just like, this is a waste of money. But if you spent like, 40 bucks on a really good game, like, who cares how long it took? Like, as long as it was really good. It's kind of like TV shows when TV series, they're like, all right, we have 6 seasons and we're going to make the story arc do this in 6 seasons. And then it's going to be it. That's it. That's our perfect story is 6 seasons. And then the show really starts to pick up in season 5 and 6. So then they're like, you know what? Even though we
Mm,
have this plan for 6 seasons, we're going to add on like 3 more seasons because money. And then the show completely dies out and everyone hates it. I mean, I've talked to a lot of people who their favorite show, they always hate the last couple of seasons. Even though
yep.
it's their favorite show, they always despise either the last couple
I
episodes or
agree.
the last couple seasons because that's where the show started to really fizzle out because it was just being made for money instead of content. And so for video games, I kind of take that into consideration where I'm like, well, do I want 5 hours of a really solid game or do I want 20 hours of a only like 1/4 was really like planned out and designed well and 3/4 of it was kind of just thrown together so that they'd have extra gameplay.
And
Like
that's
I'd rather do the 5 solid hours.
and that's a great point because a lot of games anymore and a lot of game development companies they do the same game. I mean, look at Call of Duty. They're coming out with another one, and it's not a surprise to me. Like I'm
Another
not
one.
surprised. Exactly, yeah. But
Call of Duty is the DJ Khaled of history.
that is 100% true. And I mean, granted, sure, it's a fantastic shooter. A lot of people love it. It's not my cup of tea anymore. It used to be when it was good, in my opinion. And that was back in Modern Warfare and Modern Warfare 2 were out. Like, I love Modern Warfare 2. So much fun.
Yeah.
And that's when trash talking was allowed. Like, people can say whatever they wanted to, and it was just like, oh no, you didn't, and then you start saying stuff to them too. Like, but those were the good times.
Those are the good times.
But what I'm saying is, like, there's a lot of games, like even Halo, like we were talking about it earlier. The meme, yes. Meme. But if you want to share the meme, you're more than welcome to. It was really funny, actually.
It was a meme about how they're not, like, it's kind of a pipe dream to think that they're making better Halos. So basically it's there will never be a good Halo game again. Halo 3 was released in 2007 and you're clinging on to a childhood fantasy. Which, I mean, like, people want that Halo, like, people want nostalgia, I think is the problem.
Yeah.
When it comes to games, people don't want the game, they want the memory, the feeling, and the experience that they had when they played whatever game they're talking about back whenever it came out.
Yes.
Which you're never going to get. You're never going to get that feeling again. You're never going to get that experience. You're never going to be in that exact same spot in time playing that game on that console. Like, you're not. So anyone chasing after that, like, vibe that they got when they first picked up Mario on the N64, like, you're not going to get that on the Switch. I'm sorry. Like, it sucks. But that does not mean that those games can't be made again. It just needs to be made in a different way, rather than, the problem is that you don't need to try to replicate what you made. You just need to make something as good in terms of how did you get the experience that you got playing that, or, you know, in that first game, and how can you do that again? So you got to take out, like, what made that game great, what made people love that game, what made the feels in the feels,
yeah, and
then do that for something else. And that doesn't mean, you know, for me, for Halo, I'm not looking for another Halo 3, but I am looking for a Halo game that, you know, hits me in my feels, is fun to play, yep, is not too terribly difficult, and is focused on Master Chief. Yep. Like, that's all I want. I don't need another Halo 3, but I do need the things that I love about Halo to be present.
And that's a great point, because honestly, when I sit down and play a game like Halo, I know it's not going to be the same, because Halo, it's just an example, but Halo was the first type of game like that. Like, when I sit down and play the original Halo, I was in love with it because I've never played another shooter like that game. Mm-hmm. Even Halo 2, when it came out, they did a lot of different things, incorporating the multiplayer, and the multiplayer was amazing, so much fun, and the storyline was amazing. So both aspects, you know, single player and a multiplayer, were amazing. Like, I love both of them. Halo 3, they still hit upon it. They did something different. They changed some stuff, more different enemies, different guns, different worlds, all that stuff. Still really fun. But I think that, like, once they stopped changing things, like, they just kind of just tweaked it a little bit and said, mm-hmm, that's good enough. That's when I think the games really get away from it. So, like, for me, after the second game of whatever it is, I don't think that they're any good anymore, in my opinion. Most of the games.
Yeah.
Because they stop surprising you with new things. Like, I played Borderlands 3. I like it. It reminds me of the old Borderlands. It plays the same way. The skill trees are the same. The character setups are kind of the same way. So, like, I really like Borderlands 3. A lot of people don't like it anymore, though.
Right.
I mean, but it's because I think the companies, like, they have a winning formula. They, like, want to keep on pumping it out until it stops making money, and that's what kills that game completely.
Yeah. It can't lose its creativity. If you're gonna if you're gonna make a series and you're gonna keep a franchise going, you can't lose the creative and innovative aspect behind game development. The second you turn it into a factory and you make it in terms of pumping out the next product the same way but with better graphics, that's when you ultimately fail, because you're not doing anything different. You're not being creative. I mean, granted, like, I still want the same, like, Halo game. Like, I still want a campaign FPS with Master Chief, you know, blowing people's heads off. But, like, if you want to add some, like, new lore to it, if you want to add some, you know, new characters, I'm all for it. I was open-minded about Halo 5. I know a lot of people weren't really that interested when it, was like announced in the trailer and people were very confused. I was so hype about that trailer. Now, granted, the game didn't pan out how I thought it would, but I was still hype when I saw the trailer because it was something different, but it still had that essence that I loved about Halo. Which is why like I'm apprehensive about Halo Infinite only because I'm concerned that they did too much experimentation, that they might have lost that initial what makes Halo great.
Yeah.
And that's also a problem. Like, you should still be creative and innovative, but you should also, if you're staying within a franchise, stick with that franchise. Like, again, like I said before, find the qualities that made that game great and then make a new game with it, maybe add some new stuff, but you still have to keep those original qualities. If you throw those original qualities out and you just use the same name, you're shooting yourself in a different foot, but you're still shooting yourself in the foot.
And it goes to show that, like, so for example, like I still love games that kind of keep the same formula. I guess it's very tough, and it's very tough to do it with shooters, in my opinion, because there's only so many ways you can do shooters.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And like, so I love Fallout. I love 3. New Vegas was fun, but it was kind of like Fallout 3-ish. But I still liked it. And then I love Fallout 4. I really loved it, and to that point, like I love anything Bethesda touches in general. Like Skyrim was fantastic as well. Like they did a great job, but like I think when they tried to pump things out too quickly and try to test things and try things, like kind of like what they did with Fallout 76, it didn't really pan out the way they wanted to because they experimented a little too much with their winning formula.
For sure, yeah. I mean, Fallout's a great example. Them not remaking the same game, but making the same game making a series of the same types of game, but they're different every time. And the way that they succeeded with that is that they did it through the story, they did it through the lore, they did it through having different challenges, different missions. I mean, base level, it was the same game every time, but it was slightly tweaked, and it was always interesting. And then the second that they stepped a little too far out with their experimentation, and they lost some of that OG Fallout essence that people fell in love with, which I think is what happened with Halo 5. Like, they lost that Halo essence. Because, like, I know people don't like Halo 4, but I liked Halo 4. I still felt it wasn't my favorite. It wasn't, oh, my computer died. It wasn't my favorite. But I didn't hate it. I still felt like it was a Halo game. Still felt like it had those key aspects. Halo 5, dipped a little too far into the experimental pool. Tried to be a little too much. Had a too much gene for that one. But other than that, I mean, like, yeah, but I think for sure.
Sorry, you kind of cut out there, but it's not a big deal.
Yeah, my computer went to sleep. I'm like,
tell it to wake up.
It needs coffee.
No, I don't disagree with that whatsoever. I think that a lot of game companies are actually trying to keep with this winning formula because it's a tough day and age. There's so much competition out there, and they kind of just want to make money, in my opinion, and they're just trying to pump out these games quickly. And they just want to use what they have at their fingertips and put their development company or development team on something else, maybe a different project to possibly pull them in more money, while just keep on pumping out the games that they know that people love, and they love the name, like Call of Duty or, I guess Fallout, like anything like that has that name. People were like, oh man, well, if we do this, they'll still eat it up. It's not a big deal. Just throw it out there and we'll go with it. So
Resident Evil, although Resident Evil is probably the one franchise that just keeps making Resident Evil games, keep slaying.
It's true. You even said that they're having a beta, actually.
Yeah, so they just announced, well, now they're going outside to their, I think they're trying to make a multiplayer, but I don't think it's not coming off as a new Resident Evil game. It's coming off as like Resident Evil world, like Resident Evil vibes, but it's called Project Resistance, and it's similar to Dead by Daylight because it's an online multiplayer where you have like 4v1, and it's horror, which is super cool. So it feels very similar to Dead by Daylight. But they're not marketing it as a new Resident Evil game. It's just in the same universe as Resident Evil.
Maybe that's what they should do then. For other companies, not market as such. If they have a winning formula, just kind of have a spin.
Like not market it as like the next installment, but just be like kind of like you know what? No, I'm not gonna even say it because I just keep talking about this franchise. That's all I talk about. But no, like so they're doing this like co-op thing, but they're having like a beta, and you can like sign up to be picked for their beta for Project Resistance. I mean, it looks fun, it looks cool, but Resident Evil is a great example of like a making different but same games. Because I mean, Resident Evil 7 was like totally different, but still within the lore, still within all the crazy human experimentation stuff. So
yeah, I love Resident Evil games, but honestly, I think it's starting to get to the point that Resident Evil for me is kind of taking a dip as well, just because like I know it's just the fact that like I've seen so many things with Resident Evil, so many different creations, different creatures, and at least in my opinion, there's only so far you can go with the zombie genre in general. Like it's been tapped so hard, like around the Walking Dead series in general, with all those games that are coming, like that came out at that time. Like they had State of Decay, they had
Dying Light.
Dying Light was, oh man, it was. So that game was a little different for me, and the only reason why is because they incorporated like parkour into it. I love that aspect of it. I don't know if you really got a chance to play it, but it was actually a really fun game, and I'm looking forward to this. The newest installment. I know there's something supposed to be coming out at some point in time. I don't know if it came out or not. I'm not keeping on top of that actually, but the game was really fun. I actually really enjoyed it. But I mean, there's so many like this is called Days Gone too, right?
Yep.
But like, just so many zombie games out there that kind of getting saturated. I know that there's like a lot of horror games, but a lot of horror games can go in different directions. But if it's like centered around zombies, it's tough to kind of branch out.
Yeah, there are definitely a lot of. There are. I mean, that's why I think that Resident Evil 7 did a good job of like. Because, like, I played Resident Evil 2, the remake. Well, I played half of it. The second Mr. X showed up, I was like, peace, I'm done playing. That's, heavily zombie game. But then, like, Resident Evil 7, it was kind of zombies, but, like, not. Because it was, like, it was the human experiment girl who had those, like, weird abilities. And, like, so the people... They weren't the undead, but they weren't living. Like, they were just, like... Because, you would kill them, and they would come back, and you would, like, saw their face off, and they would come back. And so, like... And then those, like, weird, like, creepy things underground that looked like slime. I mean, like, those were zombies, but, like, not zombies, because they were, like, weird, like, sludge monsters. So, I mean, I feel like that did a good job of like being a zombie game without like OG zombies.
Yeah.
But now, I mean, Resident Evil's also keeps making remakes and just keeps taking their old games and remastering.
Yeah, and the only game that I can honestly get behind zombie wise is The Last of Us. It's such an amazing story. Like, it has such an amazing story. I know it has a special place in my heart. It is such a fantastic game. They've really had like, amazing writers touch that game. Like, because just the story in general, you start to really feel something for each character and stuff in the game. Like Ellie, Joel. Like, I really love their characters and their chemistry at first and at the end, and you really understood why they have the chemistry in the very, like, it's just really well written. It goes together so cohesively. But then, like, when I do Resident Evil, it's like, oh, this ex-cop or this ex-military guy is it's
not
an
as
umbrella
personable.
corporation, yeah, and it's just like I can't get attached to the. I love character, like, story-driven games, like they're my favorite because I can really feel for them.
Oh yeah, I mean I totally cried at the end of Gears of War God of War. I cried at the end of God of War. I did, and it's on stream, and someone clipped it. It's there forever. Totally broke down, like, not even like teary-eyed. I mean, like, I broke down crying at the end of God of War.
I need to see the clip,
it was
though.
just, I'll send it to you. It was just, it was so funny too, because like it's games like that are so well made in terms of story and character development. I mean, I didn't really think that I was that emotionally attached to those characters because I spent most of my playthrough roasting them.
Right.
Like, I would yell at the kid all the time and try and kill him, and I would, yell at Kratos half the time for being mean to the kid, even though I was being mean to the kid. Like, and I didn't really think, and also I started that game in September and I finished it in June. I mean, like, it took me a very long time to finish that game.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Just because, life and stream schedules and all that. But I'm not saying I played it every stream, because if it took me that long, that's sad. But, I spaced it out over many months. So, I really didn't think that I was that attached to those characters. And then the end came, and he's talking about how his son got his name. And it was like the first time that Kratos was ever, like, nice to his kid and said something, like, actually, like, meaningful and, like, heartfelt. And I just busted out crying. So games, when it really tugs at your heartstrings and you really get that connection with characters, it's my favorite. Because it gives you that emotional attachment and that weird, like, I'll never find a game that made me feel exactly like this. I'll find other games that make me feel, but never exactly like this. And this is like a once in a lifetime experience right now. And I felt that with Halo. I felt that with Last of Us. I felt that with God of War. I felt that with Oxenfree. Oxenfree was so good. And then What Remains of Edith Finch. And I think that's it in terms of those kind of games.
I'm trying to think about any other games that really pulled on my heartstrings, but I can't really think of. There's not that many that are, like, really well written, and I'm sure there are. I just haven't really played that. I mean, don't get me wrong. I was a first-person shooter for the longest time, and I matured in my gaming days, like, from my humble beginnings of a first-person shooter and Call of Duty lover to the more mature person you see right now that loves story-driven games. So, but I mean, I need to find more like that, and I want more like that. And I'm hoping Cyberpunk I keep on saying about Cyberpunk 2077, but I'm so excited about this game. Like, I can't talk enough about it, and I gotta stop talking about it, though.
That's okay. That's how I feel about Halo. No, I mean, it doesn't. It's also to, like, be emotional, to, like, have an emotional effect. So, like, Oxenfree is like a horror game. It's, like, psychological. It's an indie game, and it didn't make me emotional. It didn't make me sad or upset or pull at my heartstrings or anything like that. But it just was so well written, and the story was so good, and it had so many moments of, like, shock and, like, oh my god, I can't believe they did that, and, like, oh my god, I can't believe that's happening. And it was just a great experience that it was, like, really good. What Remains of Edith Finch definitely pulls at your heartstrings for sure. That one's emotional.
Look at that game. I've never even heard of that game, to be honest. I gotta look that up.
It's good.
But I wanted to kind of move off the topic of really well written games and go into the strange world, I guess, of game companies come up with their own launchers.
Ooh, yes.
Yes, and I know that Rockstar just come out with their own launcher. They are actually really trying to promote their launcher by giving away a free copy of Grand Theft Auto San Andreas with it. And I'm really shocked that Rockstar in general has come out with their own launcher, but at the same time, I'm still not shocked. I guess it's hard to say. Like, I've seen so many things, so many strange launchers and things like that come up recently, but for Rockstar to do it, it was kind of shocking to me.
It definitely seems random to me, like that they would need their own launcher.
Yeah,
But I mean, like Epic has their own launcher. Like BattleNet has theirs. Origin has theirs. Steam has theirs. I mean, I think it's just devs or dev companies wanting more control over their games, how much money they get for their games,
yeah,
how they publish those games, having a direct line to their fan base.
yeah.
I mean, it could be a load of reasons as to why to do it. I think it's interesting because I feel like gaming is going in with the process of people getting their own launchers, and then the process of when we were talking about Apple Arcade, the process of having these stream services. It seems weird that gaming is going in like two very opposite directions right now,
Yeah.
where either it's their own launcher and that's how you get the game, or you're on like a service where you're not even selling your game to individual people anymore. You're just putting your game on a service that service is then sold to a bunch of people. So it's very weird.
Yeah, and I just counted the number of launchers that I have just from game companies and stuff. Like, I have 6 different ones right now, and that's I don't even have all of them, which is insane to think. But is that what's gonna happen anymore? Like, on my PC is gonna be covered with game launchers from different companies.
Well, either it's gonna be covered with game launchers or it's only gonna be one. Well, no, because then it's probably going to be covered with many services too.
Yeah.
Like this whole streaming thing that is being talked about is it's so problematic in my mind, because streaming TV and movies is one thing, but streaming an entire game from a service, also, what if that service doesn't have the game you want? So then you have to sign up for another service that does have a game, but then that service has a bunch of games that
they're
you'll
gonna
never
have
touch.
exclusives, and exclusives are gonna be only found on that streaming service. So then you're like, oh dang it, I want the other streaming service.
It's pretty much the same reason as to why people have a Netflix account, a Hulu account,
Yep.
HBO Go account, Amazon Prime. I mean, if you can't get your TV show on one streaming service, you'll get it on another. But then now if gaming goes in that direction, I mean, you're gonna have multiple services to get access to all the games that you want.
And that's what freaks me out, is the fact that all right, so am I gonna buy the digital copy of this game because God knows I want to play it on a PC or Xbox or PlayStation? But then, if hopefully they don't go and make themselves exclusively to, kind of like what Borderlands 3 did. For right now, they're exclusively with Epic Games. Yeah. So if you want to go and get Borderlands 3, you have to download the launcher. Even if you don't want to, you have to go download that launcher to even get the game on your PC, which stinks in a sense, because if I didn't want Epic Launcher and I wanted Borderlands 3, you gotta get it and download it through Epic Games, and that's
right. But the difference between launchers is that launchers are free.
Yes.
So yes, it is annoying to have to download a launcher. I feel like it would be more annoying to have to sign up and pay for an entire service just to get an exclusive game.
Oh, exactly. And that's the thing, though, because once they start coming out with these streaming services, for a fact, I'm sure that a lot of game companies will be pulled in with money by saying, sign with our streaming service, make it exclusive on us, and we'll do, because Google Stadia, Google doesn't have anything else right now. And Google Stadia is going to be brand new. You know, they have a ton of money to spend. They have to pull in some big gaming company to them, just them, and say, sign with us exclusively, and we'll put you everywhere. And you know for a fact that some company's going to sign up with Google because it's Google. They have all the marketing in the world because everyone uses freaking Google. Like, it's an actual thing, you know, that people say Google it. You know? Right. So if they go on Google, it's going to be everywhere. So, I mean, that's the issue that I'm running into, because once Google Stadia comes up and their streaming service is going to be whatever price it's going to be at, and they have a game exclusive, and it's going to be probably something that I'm going to want to play because that's what Google would do. And if I were Google, I would do the same thing. I'd pull in some big name company or big game and be like, come to us exclusively. Everyone's going to have to get that stupid service for that stupid game, and it's going to drive me insane. Yep. My rant's over. I'm sorry. It's so upsetting.
You're not wrong, though. You're not wrong. Granted, like, my only question with streaming services is, like, what profits go to the game developers? Because if you're not buying the individual game, how is the devs making money off of that? Are they getting a cut of the streaming service fund? Because how could they? If you charge someone $15 a month to use your service and you have 150 games, that $15 is going to be pennies to those people. So yeah.
I'm wondering if they're only going to do big name games. I don't know how that's going to happen. I know Apple Arcade did like indie games, and I understand that, but like bigger streaming services like Google Stadia, Microsoft's xCloud, are they only going to do the big name games because of that reason and sign up for make a contract with them and say, we're going to have you on the streaming service for X amount of years. You get paid this flat rate for these many years, like a contract basically, like they do in sports.
I don't know. I don't know how it works. I don't know, because like it's not like, because if you pay for the streaming service, it's not like you're gonna pay for the service and then go on there and then pay $30 more for the game. Like that doesn't seem like that's not gonna work. So like you're paying for the service so that the devs have to be paid somehow, but I don't know how. I don't know how it works.
Yeah, honestly, it kind of escapes me. I gotta maybe do a little bit more research on that because I kind of want to know as well, because it doesn't make any sense for the marketing scheme that they have. If it's feasible for gamers, like if they wanted to appeal to gamers, they have to make it pretty cheap per month to get a ton of people to sign in and enjoy, especially with all the other streaming services or game streaming services that are coming out at the same time. So like when xCloud launches, Google Stadia is going to be there. There's, Apple Arcade. There's so many other streaming services going to be out at the same time. Like, they have to use money to pull people in games. So, like, they need the top games, and they need it to be cheap. So, how is that going to all work out? I don't know. It's a good question. And thanks for listening to this episode of the Rad Gaming Podcast. Be sure to rate and subscribe to us on iTunes, Spotify, or anywhere else you listen to podcasts. I release a new episode every Wednesday. And as always, stay rad, comrades.